welcome indeed. This is Paul Menacucci, and in another edition of Nevada County Interviews. Welcome to NCTV. We have with us the Grass Valley Cornish Carol Choir, who will be performing songs today. And we're also have in the studio Howard Lamine with the Grass Valley Downtown Association.
Hi, Paul.
And Eleanor Kaditzen, who is the conductor and the music director at the choir. So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of the choir, because it's actually quite interesting. Either one of you guys can answer the question. So this is part and parcel of our Cornish heritage, which dates back to the early mining days. Is that right?
It is, and the choir, which Eleanor has resurrected and kept going, is a very important part of our holiday tradition as well, because the choir was heard on national radio throughout the United States, and I assume they've heard in Europe as well, not
exactly.
beside their travels. Yeah.
In the 1940s, yes, during the war.
Yeah.
Right. And so the connection to, of course, Cornwall is that there were a special kind of mining that Cornish miners knew how to do, and that was what was required up here. Is that correct?
Well, my understanding of it is that the tin miners knew how to dewater the mines in the Cornwall area, and so they would go down, and they had this particular instrument, the Cornish pump, which allowed them to go into the areas below the water line and keep the mines dry. And when they found that they had that particular talent, that was it. The mine stayed dry, and the Cornish cousin Jacks and cousin Jennies would come over and fulfill the need that we had for mining here in Nevada County.
And so with that came the Cornish Christmas tradition that we have adopted. And for some 90 years, I guess, the choir actually was in operation continuously.
Right, and it was an all-male choir at that point. And then ceased to sing when when the mines started closing and people started moving away, young men going off to college and the older ones dying off. And then there was such a small group left of the choir that they voted to disband. And then in 1990 we started it up again, and this time we added women.
Yes. And
Special feature. Special feature.
So is that why it's the Cornish Carol Choir?
Actually, it was always the Grass Valley Cornish Carol Choir, or the Grass Valley Carol Choir.
I see. And so, but we continue to have an all-male choir as well.
We do. I know it's confusing, but yes, the Grass Valley Men's Choir, male voice choir, is an outgrowth of this choir.
Right. And so, how did this come to be, Eleanor? How did you come to be infected with the Cornish choir virus?
Yes, as well you may ask. Actually, I had just moved here, and in 1988, and directed the Messiah the first year that I was really here, and somebody said, next year you should do the carol choir. And like a nut, I said, okay. Have no idea what that meant. And then Bill Peterson from Hedmonds called me, and he said, we've got an interview set up at the newspaper, and we're going to, and I said, for what? He said, the Cornish Carol Choir. And I said, okay. And then when they started asking questions, and I kept saying, Bill, maybe you should answer that, I realized I knew nothing, and went to Harold George immediately and said, Harold, where's the music? Can I hear the music? And he said, no, but here's some words, and you can listen to it. And so the first year I had to learn the music off of an old record that Harold had with actually no music in front of me. Which is the way the men learned it, by rote.
Right.
And so then we got music for all of them who are still holding their books.
So now, are the carols that we're singing here particular to Cornwall, or does the choir sing the general Christmas fare? Because some of these seem to be unusual songs and Cornish only.
All of them that we sing are the traditional 12 songs that they've been singing in the streets of Grass Valley since 1877. So, no, we don't sing Silent Night and Joy to the World, although we keep threatening to. But we sing only songs that came from Cornwall. A lot of them, Gage McKinney in his book, When Miners Sang, talked about the music and how it was brought from Cornwall here. And most of it was written by Cornishmen who didn't have any real education in music, and yet because of their heritage and their really good listening ears, they could write and sing the music and teach it to each other, and so we're grateful for that. Mm-hmm. And the fact is, Grass Valley's very special because we've continued the carols. Most areas of Cornish all through the country have forgotten their carols. And so when I was invited to teach the carols at a Cornish American Heritage Society, and I said, I'm not Cornish, and it's your music, not mine, and why am I being invited to teach it? When I got there, I realized it was because there were so many there who didn't have the carols anymore. And so we'd kept them alive here. And so, that's a pretty incredible statement about the community and what the Cornishness has meant to this community, and the men singing it all through the years to keep it alive for the rest of us now.
Tell us a story about how you got to be worldwide during was it Second World War that occurred?
Right.
How did that come to occur?
They sang in the Idaho, Maryland mine, and it was broadcast, and it was actually... where is Dave Brenninger when we need him? It was actually broadcast over the radio, but it was made onto a big metal disc. And it was only done that one time at that point. Dave Brenninger, many years later, found a copy of that at the dump.
Wow.
Somebody had thrown it away. Dave found it, and that's what he plays every Christmas Eve off of this wonderful thing. Thank goodness for Dave, who was, I don't know, was he...
City manager.
Well, he was, but I was going to say, was he dump diving? I don't know. But it was remarkable that he was able to find that and again to keep that piece of history. But the recording was done in order to kind of combine our traditions, and it was broadcast over in England to sort of remind us that we're all one, and to keep our troops realizing that people at home were still connecting all over the world. So it was pretty incredible.
So we're going to ask you one more question, and then we'll ask the choir to do another song. You were able to gather enough funds up to go to Europe and sing live a couple of years ago. Is that correct?
1996.
Yeah.
96 is the first year.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, we kept getting invitations, and I kept laughing because I was thinking, you got to be kidding me. This choir's not so great. Oh. Sorry.
She didn't mean that.
Well, in 96, it really wasn't all that wonderful. It takes a while for a group to get to sing together and to get really good. And so in 96, we'd been together about 6 years at that point, and everybody kind of chipped in. We worked some Cornish Christmases and sold all kinds of baked goods, earning money to go. And we went as a group. We took all American songs because, again, the very audacity of these Americans coming over there to sing. And we went in the spring, so we weren't allowed to sing Cornish carols there yet, although we did, didn't we? We stood out in the parking lot because they don't start singing carols until the end of the summer, and then they start practicing. So there's a real whole thing here that we were trying to behave. But But
That's not what I heard.
that's not what you heard?
No.
Well,
Oh, you did not behave. That's
oh,
probably
we
why.
behaved nicely. Yes, but it was a really wonderful experience to go and to take the Cornish choir and then to really kind of discover the things that we have in common with each other rather than always looking at what's different.
Mm-hmm.
I know we speak American, they speak English, and they remind us of that quite often.
Right.
But
Well, what are we going to hear next?
next, you're going to hear "Hark, What Music Fills Creation."
All right. Well, Eleanor disengages her microphone and goes back to the virtual podium that's up on the stage. We'll welcome back the Cornish Carol Choir. Lovely. So Howard Zellner is going to come back over here and join us. Tell us when the schedule is for the choir. I live in Nevada County, and when can I hear this wonderful group?
They are 6:30 and 7:30 at the Union Steps, which is where they always are, and we're so very proud to have them at Cornish Christmas. So,
Weather permitting or not, huh?
you know, they're troopers, and we will have good weather.
Yes. It will be good weather.
Yes.
Well,
That's my job.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But actually, the choir loves to stand on the steps because they fairly much stay out of the weather. It's just me that gets wet, and they quite like that. Yeah.
Right.
I get wet too.
And so, how's Grass Valley? I mean, a downtown association. Does it help to promote this? Is this kind of a cross-promotional thing?
Well, let's go back to, we talked about the Cornish choir and the history. The history of the Cornish Christmas, and it is always going to be Cornish Christmas. We will make that very clear to everybody.
Here.
Started with a guy named Johnny George. Didn't we mention Harold George earlier on in the conversation? So in 1967-ish, Johnny George and Lou Liddell, who were both merchants in downtown, wanted to create a festival, and that's 44 years ago. And obviously, with a name like George, it has to be Cornish. So there is no way that Cornish will ever be erased from what we do in downtown Grass Valley. And so for us, having the Cornish choir only reinforces the idea that this is our heritage in Nevada County. As hard as the rocks were to remove, is as hard as the name of the Cornish miners is to remove. And so it is our heritage and our future to remember what we have here in Nevada County.
Yeah, well said. So, what other traditions happen around Cornish Christmas?
Oh my goodness, our Cornish Christmas is about families and about our community, and what we have are wonderful young people playing, and that's something that we cherish. And other festivals have that, but that is a highlight of what we do. In downtown, we've had, I brought this banner by Tommy Clark, who made one this year, but we have our light poles decorated for the most part with locally made banners. We have our ornaments that are the incredible buildings that we have in downtown, and we have about 7 or 8. We've created a tradition. This year is the Union Building. And then we have our chestnut roaster, Cecil Snow, and a variety of other local crafts and craft people from around Northern California. So it is a way to show off, though, the very best part of what is downtown, and that is our merchants. Right. And that's what Cornish Christmas was designed to do, and showing off our merchants. We have people who come from all over this time of year to visit family and friends, and when I meet them walking downtown, they are just in disbelief, actually, about the incredible shopping that we have in downtown Grass Valley. Right.
And it's all part of the milieu that is Grass Valley. So, do we allow people from Nevada City to come listen?
We have seen people from Nevada City.
Reports.
There are sightings.
Yes.
And I'd like to say that I go to Nevada City to their event.
Do they know that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
We
It's
even
like,
sing in Nevada City.
yeah, and you sing in Nevada City, but, I bring out my ID and, I put my arms up and up against it's very good. It's a great community, both back and forth.
Sure.
And their event brings thousands of people into Nevada County, just like Cornish Christmas has over the years, and it's good for both communities.
Right. I think the events work really well together. Is there any, being an Italian, I have to ask about food. Is there any kind of special goodies that are associated with Cornish Christmas?
Yes, and the food, of course, there are pasties there.
Yeah.
And
is there a Cornish pasty that is particular for Christmas?
The 4-H does Cornish pasties. I think the pasties that we have in Nevada County are year-round.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're, something that every kid in Nevada County was raised on, and every parent has to export to wherever their kids live.
That's right.
So,
they go to college.
Yeah.
Have these little pasty boxes.
We have that, and then we also have Italian food.
Yeah.
Yeah, and desserts. And a lot of nonprofits who do food. And again, it's about community, and we really work hard to. There are other people who are out there who are commercial vendors, of course, but not all the crafts and everything that are sold in non-food booths are handmade, or they're not there. I check on that.
Yeah. And there still is time for us to go shopping in Grass Valley, isn't there?
Yes, there is. And we also have Santa's Workshop, which is open Thursday from 4 to 2 to 6, and we do gift wrapping with purchases downtown. It's open Friday from 4 to 9, Sunday from 2 to 6, and then, Saturday from 2 to 6, and Sunday from 1 to 3, except it won't be open on Christmas. So, so that's a very special, that's all new, and we have a very nice great photographer who takes pictures with the kids and the families, and God, I had a great picture with my granddaughter last week. It was cool. Yeah. Did you see that one?
I did.
Yeah.
So let's remind the folks at home again when they can hear the choir.
They're on the steps of the Union Building, which is our ornament this year, and it is in. But they're on the steps at 6:30 and 7:30, and get there a little bit early because they do create a crowd. They have a incredible following, and when people miss them, I get in a lot of trouble. So we want you to get there early and make sure you have your place staked out because it's backed up. And they're wonderful. We love them.
Yeah, there's something that's really special about Christmas up in the foothills, isn't it? I mean, It's so different than the rest of California. It's tradition.
Just think about the buildings and the lights and the parapets in both Grass Valley and Nevada City, with the trees that surround it, and the full moon that's out there some nights. Oh my God, it is incredible.
Yeah, it truly is. So all our friends from Sacramento should come up and partake of a Christmas up the hill.
Well, yeah, I think they know about it, but the ones that don't should really make it up here. But we have a lot of people who say they come up year after year, and it's just part of what they do.
Okay. Now, what we're going to do, a little unusual, we're going to ask the choir to sing, and we're going to. We have about 6 minutes left, so can we do 2 songs?
Sure.
And we'll go out on this. So this is Paul Minicucci reminding you to come hear the choir in person in Grass Valley. And I want to thank the crew for the tremendous job they do. I want to thank the choir for getting dressed up and coming over and sharing what they do here in the studios. Thank you very much. And I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas. And we're going to go out with Eleanor conducting.
And this lady has really made a big difference in that. And Eleanor, we love you for it. We love you anyhow, but we love you for that too.
Thank you. Houston Sages.
Seventh-day Adventist Church, Grass Valley, provider of amazing facts, religious weekend programming. Located at 12889 Osborne Hill Road in Grass Valley.
Welcome to Nevada County Snapshots. I'm your host, Cheryl Noble. Our beautiful corner of the Sierra Nevada foothills is rich with diverse natural beauty, one-of-a-kind landmarks, historic, charming towns, world-class cultural events, and so much more. Our program looks at all things grand and glorious in Nevada County. Why don't you come join me and discover or rediscover what's right here in our backyard. Okay, we're at Rock Creek Nature Trail, which is about 6 miles out of Nevada City. And today I'm with Ann Westling, the Public Affairs Officer for the Tahoe National Forest. She's on my right, and on my left is Kathy Van Zoot, a botanist with the Tahoe Forest. They're going to tell us all the great stuff about Rock Creek. Hello, ladies. Hi. And we'll start with you and give us just a quick overview. We're standing from the information booth for Rock Creek. Tell us about it.
Well, this trail was developed many, many years ago, and right now the brochure that we have talks about the ecosystems that are found at Rock Creek. The brochure was actually written by Lynn Campbell in conjunction with the superintendent of schools in cooperation with the Forest Service many years ago, and it's still a very effective brochure in terms of talking about the many different ecosystems here at Rock Creek.
Right. Informative, too.
That's great. Yes, thanks.
And you can pick up your little brochure right here at the information booth before you start on the trail. So, Kathy, how many? It's a diverse ecosystem. Is there a count of how many different wonders?
No, but there's very diverse vegetation. Okay. So there's lots of different things to see in the plant world, in the fungus world, in the bird world, all kinds of different things interacting. It is in the mixed conifer ecosystem. That's the big one, mixed conifer plant community, and it is a stream-side environment. So there's more moisture, which produces different kinds of plant life.
I see. All right, and a little bit cooler weather and nice little waterfalls too, I hear. So
that's right. In fact, on a hot, sweaty day in Nevada City, if you come down to Rock Creek, it frequently can be 10 to 15 degrees cooler. Plus, you have the wonderful sound of the creek itself and all the wonderful bird sounds, and it's a great little, very short escape to come out here, put up your chair. We've got picnic grounds. We've got, there's one restroom. And so it's a nice little place just for either a stroll or to come out and have a lunch break.
and dogs on leashes. So they're welcome, but because of the people who come here with families and kids, sometimes elderly people, that it is wheelchair accessible, dogs are encouraged to be on leashes. But they can still get the water from the creek. So let's start. Yes.
Did you hear that sound?
I did.
You hear that sound? It was a pileated woodpecker, and that's one of the largest woodpeckers that we would be seeing out here. You can tell the sound. It's a really loud dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. So we should be hearing it more as we walk through the trail.
And they're a little, not endangered, but they're not as common as the other woodpeckers, right?
They're not endangered, but you don't see them very often.
Right.
They're huge. They're this tall, and they've got that brilliant red streak on their head with the cap. They're wonderful to see.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep our eyes out for is it pileated? Pileated woodpecker. Okay, we're heading on the trail.
This is a wonderful spot to find banana slugs. They love the moisture, the wet soil, and you can pick them up, touch them, but
Let them slime you.
Yes. They aren't very desirable for me to pick up, but I can understand kids might. And there's information on the banana slug in this little brochure, too.
That's right, yes. So you have to look up, look around, listen. This is a great trail for the senses.
One of the things that is really beautiful here is looking up through the canopy. This time of the year, there's all kinds of dogwoods, which are a special plant.
Yes.
They
Beautiful.
are growing here underneath the canopy of the pines and the Douglas firs. Dogwoods have parallel venation. You see how the veins are just going up like that?
Oh, right.
And if you find a tree, a small tree or a shrub, and you think it's a dogwood but you're not positive, if you just carefully pull it apart like this, you'll notice that there are little threads in the veins.
I see it.
So then you know that it's a dogwood tree. We have several different kinds of dogwoods on the forest, and the dogwoods are important for migratory birds because they produce berries that are needed by them as they migrate for energy. And dogwoods produce beautiful flowers and wonderful fall color.
Now, the flowers are so spectacular. They're subtle, understated. Have they bloomed already
If you
down
look,
here?
No, but they're
Okay.
getting ready to.
Getting ready.
I noticed just a moment ago that there are some that have the little inflorescence starting to bud out. This is not Cornish Natalia, the one that has the big white bracts.
Okay.
This
Familiar
one
with
has
that one.
smaller white ones.
I see.
And most of them are up higher. I can't quite reach them.
Is there a sighting? A dogwood sighting?
Of the blooms getting ready to go. They're more up high. Can you see the little stick-like things coming out from the branch?
Right. So maybe they've got a little more sunlight going for them to catch. But interesting how they're just a little behind the cycle of the dogwoods in Nevada City and in town.
That's right.
So-
This area is several weeks behind Nevada City. In fact,
Okay.
as you go up the Sierra Nevada, you will find what will you find? As you go up the Sierra Nevada, you'll find elevational layers where things, as you move up, are slower. In fact, I was on Donner Summit just yesterday, and they still had a good 3 to 8 feet of snow. So this has been quite an interesting winter and spring because things are much more delayed than they normally would be.
Right.
And we're also expecting the creeks to be much higher than they normally would be as we continue to get some snow melt.
And colder, which makes for unsafe water play.
Okay.
People should be very careful when they're trying to recreate in streams and rivers right now.
Right.
One of the great things about the Tahoe National Forest, though, and that elevational change, is you can start, if you're a wildflower lover like me, start in the spring and just keep seeing wildflowers as you go up in elevation almost all season long.
And
Very
then,
great
Are they
place.
different wildflowers? So if you go to a different elevation, you might see something
Yes.
different than you did.
Some the same, some different,
Oh,
or a
fun.
different species of the same genus of flower.
Okay.
I wanted to show you also a hazelnut. This is a hazelnut shrub, and this actually produces little nuts that are very high in protein and, again, very important for those migratory birds and other wildlife. I don't see any nuts on it right now, but if you feel that leaf, it is so soft.
It is.
Just a beautifully soft little leaf.
Now, again, a similar look to the dogwood that you were pointing out, but the way we can find out is to just split it apart.
You could look for the little threads in the veins. The feel alone is softer, so it's probably got some hair. And if you look along the edge of the leaf, there are little indentations, little serrations, yes. And this venation is not parallel. It's coming off a main vein.
Yeah, I need to put them side by side. There you go. And I'm sure it's in the booklet too.
I'm not positive.
Yeah, it talks about the different trees. It doesn't talk about the venation.
One of the plants along this trail that's in abundance is called trail plant. And it's called trail plant because if you walk through it, the underside of the leaf comes up and actually indicates that something or someone has moved past that point.
Oh.
So this is trail plant.
I always wondered.
So you see how when you step over it, you see the white underside? That's why it's called trail plant. And they are getting ready to bloom. This is a different plant. This is called false Solomon's seal.
This one here?
Yes. The Native Americans, it has a root system called a rhizome, and the Native Americans would dig up the roots and then cook them to get rid of the bitterness and then eat them. Not that I recommend people dig up plants or eat them, because
you never know.
There's not a lot of them around. And it also produces red berries later on that they also ate. So just about every plant in this area was used by Native Americans for one purpose or another.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. What's next?
One of the other interesting things along this trail, we have brought kids out here in conjunction with the superintendent of schools and local artists. And so one of the activities that the kids do would be to look around and to identify all the different colors of green, all the different hues, shades, intensities of green, and then name them. And this is a wonderful trail and time of year to be looking for green. If you look around, it's just amazing. In fact, during the afternoon when the sun is streaking through the trees, it almost turns the air green. It's and I often wondered, can air that green photosynthesize?
Right.
Anyway, it's a beautiful area.
And does moss count for green?
Moss does count for green. And we've got some algae or fungus, Kathy?
That is a lichen.
Lichen. Okay.
And there is a story about lichen that I tell to students, which is pretty corny. So I'll shorten it.
Okay.
Alice algae and Freddie fungus, because lichen is a combination of algae and fungi growing together, met and formed a relationship. That's it.
Okay.
There you go.
And that's it on the tree there?
Yeah, that's a lichen, a form of lichen, that light-colored material on the bark of the cedar tree.
And they often can be in rocks too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you look out straight ahead toward the stream, see that gnarly-looking conifer has some orangish to it and green. That's actually an old Taxus brevifolia, a Pacific yew. Pacific yew is where Taxol, which is a chemical used in the treatment of cancer, was discovered. Taxol is now created synthetically, but that was the original source of it, from the Pacific yew.
We'll find more yew later.
Okay.
Y-E-W.
Y-E-W. Something just moved. How big? Are we still close to the car?
It was kind of yellowy brown.
Well, what are some of the little critters around here? I saw a little raccoon head in the brochure, and there's the banana slug.
Yeah, there's the banana slug. Lots of different types of wildlife. We can see evidence of raccoons. Bears have gone through. In fact, I had a group of kids out here, and a bear went through not too long after we left. Came back, and sure enough, there was the scat in the tracks of the black bear. As I say, lots of different birds. That bird that we're hearing now is probably a robin, but we get a lot of migratory birds through here. We get the black-headed grosbeaks, and hopefully later on we'll also hear the winter wren. The winter wrens are out here, and they remind me of the Energizer bunny, Energizer wren, because they're just nonstop.
Okay.
So hopefully we can hear those. Have found quite a few snakes out here in terms of friendly snakes.
Good.
The rubber boa, I've seen several rubber boas out here, and they're wonderful-looking snakes. They really do look like they should be rubber. They're very sleek, kind of a rosy color, but
Almost a rubber color.
almost a rubber color, right?
They're very cute. One of the few snakes I don't mind picking up.
Okay. I'm not sure there is a snake I would pick up. Keep your eyes open. I'm just a city girl. Although we do get snakes in town, don't we?
Yes. And wildlife.
Right, that's true. A little of everything.
One of the plants, one of the small trees that people will notice when they're out here is this big leaf maple.
Right, these are the kind you like for the fall to
Beautiful
decorate.
yellow color, yes.
Yeah. It can almost be a fan.
Yes, deciduous or hat. So when these trees lose their leaves, that's a very important component of the ecosystem, because as you see, all of that leaf litter falls onto the ground and decomposes and feeds all of the many, many thousands of living organisms, or helps to feed them, that live underground. So all of the creepy crawlers and things that people usually don't like to pick up are helping to decompose those leaves and down wood, and that just helps create nutrients for the other trees and plants that are growing above ground. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
There's another Pacific yew right there.
Now, is that the small, thin one?
Yes.
Okay.
They don't grow very big.
There's,
We will get closer to it.
that's a Pacific yew. Y-E-W. They don't. They're quite scraggly almost.
There's another one right there.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they do look kind of scraggly.
And there's lichen again.
Yes.
Once you learn about something, then it's easy to see it again. But if you don't know about it in the beginning, you can just walk right past it.
That's right.
Okay.
And this is an example of the soil that Kathy was talking about. The soil in a forest environment is one of the most complex ecosystems. It might have, in these western foothill and mountainous regions, there may be over 3,000 different microorganisms, little insects that reside in the soil. And our soil scientist for the Forest Service always reminds us when we're walking through the soil or just through the forest environment to walk gently, because every step we take, you can be stepping on over 1,000 different little organisms that live in the soil. So our soils are very important. They form the foundation of these forests.
Wow.
And the microorganisms need moisture, they need air, and so compaction on soils is really a concern for how healthy the environment is. And if I were to walk out there and stick my finger down into the soil, my finger would go a long ways. But if I try to stick it down into an area where it's been compacted, it does not go in. And so that's why we have the wonderful vegetation off the trail and virtually no vegetation growing in the trail, because the plant roots and the tree roots, they need to have that porosity so they can put their roots down into the soil.
Yes, they're actually air pockets, very small in the soil. that are necessary for plant life. It's true. If you look on the bark of this tree, you'll see there's also the little circular spots.
Yes, I see
That's
that.
also lichen.
Here's right here, too. Okay, different. The other was kind of a painting brush stroke along the tree, and this is a spot. And Bruce, there's some over here, right behind us. I would have thought that was just, I don't know.
This is the lichen that we were looking at before. And you also have this green, and that is moss. A type of moss that you also find on tree trunks very commonly.
The color's so incredible. Down below here, the vivid, bright green.
Lots of different kinds of moss in an environment like this. Some of the people who come to the Tahoe National Forest think that this incense cedar is a redwood because it has a red sort of trunk. Mm-hmm. We don't have a lot of large redwoods growing here unless they were planted, but the incense cedar is a native and was used very much by Native Americans for a lot of different things.
Oh. And this is called again a
incense cedar.
Incense cedar. It does resemble the redwood tree. Oh my gosh. Great shade through here. Like you say, the canopy of leaves and trees.
Here's a Pacific yew. Right here.
This has the moss growing on it. What is that a problem for the tree to have the moss?
Not at all.
Great. I always think it is diseased or it's being suffocated by it.
Not at all. Actually, what will happen as the season goes on, it will dry out and just hang there until it rains or there's more moisture. It'll kind of resurrect when there's moisture. A slug?
Here's some more. A different type of lichen.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh, lichens are everywhere.
You gotta like lichens.
Oh,
This is a leafy kind.
okay.
This is a wild rose,
Oh, sweet. Oh, it does
and
look
it has little buds.
Oh,
All of the domestic roses are hybrids of the wild rose. Unfortunately, to get some of those brilliant colors and patterns of flowers, many of the smells have been bred out.
oh.
But wild roses smell so good.
I do see the little tiny buds popping up.
They will produce a round ball when the flower is done called rose hip. And rose hips are full of vitamin C.
Right.
And also very important for wildlife.
Okay, they eat the rosebuds. We're listening to a bird. I can see.
Winter wren. Now that I've identified him, he'll probably be quiet.
The really high-pitched one?
High-pitched one that's good.
Yeah. And that's the winter wren.
Winter
And it's
wren.
migratory.
Yes, it's migratory. Well, no, excuse me, I'm sorry. It's not migratory. You can find winter wrens here all year long. And it's fun. They do nest here, and so you'll get the juveniles. Are you picking up the sound?
Okay.
Because you'll get the juveniles, and talk about a punk-looking bird. They've got funny feathers. They're just learning how to fly, and so they're flying kind of cockeyed. They're a fun bird. As I say, they're here most of the year, and you can usually hear them. So once you identify that one sound, then you can easily pick it up.
Right. But birds have different sounds for different communication pieces. Sometimes I will think I know a bird, and then it's got a different sound, and so I'm it throws me off.
That's right. They have songs, and that's what you're hearing now,
Right.
where they are trying to either defend a territory, attract a mate, or they'll have calls that's just like a one-syllable sound. But when you look in this environment and it's just solid green, you can't see very far, so the way that they communicate is through the song.
It's way, way up there on that middle branch, that dead branch about middle, straight up there. Can you see it?
I see empty branches
It's out right on
Is
the
it?
end.
out on the end. We've got is this a winter wren sighting?
Can't quite tell. For bird watching, you definitely need binoculars.
Need binoculars.
Or very good hearing. In fact,
And that's hard too, to track the sound and then find where they're located.
that's right. In fact, Audubon does a wonderful walk every spring, and it's all birding by ear. Let's see, just forgot his name. Rudy Darling does the trip, and he is an expert on bird sounds. And just the slightest little call, he can identify which bird it is. This is interesting at how streams move sediment downhill. This basic mud bank right here was not present last fall. And so this winter, the creek moved all of this dirt down and formed this stream bank right here. And when you find mud like this, this is a great spot to look for animal tracks. Now, I don't know that we'll see any animal tracks, but it looks right there like there's
right.
deer.
Is that big one a dog or is that a bear over there?
It's hard to say. But I do see something that looks like a dog. So when you are out in the forest, a lot of times the wildlife is very secretive. So you don't see the wildlife itself, but you see the evidence of where they have been, either through tracks, that's pine cone, either through tracks or droppings or bits of fur. And so you have to be a detective when you're out walking to determine the types of critters that are all around you.
We found a place to rest, a nice bench, which is very thoughtful and nicely located too, next to the stream. So, Anne, tell us our little spot here.
Well, we're about halfway along the trail right here, and this does make a nice spot to stop and listen again, just enjoy the forest environment. This is also the place where we frequently will talk about soil. We'll talk about how the different ecosystems mesh in a forest. So far today,
Kathy, I'm looking at the down tree. That has to be hundreds of years maybe now in the breaking down of it.
Definitely. Slow decomposition. It is decomposing a little bit more rapidly because there's moisture here. And that helps in the decomposition process. If we were to go around the corner, we'd see little openings that have different types of plants, such as bear clover, the low-growing shrub that's so full of oils that when you walk through it, it stinks up your clothes.
Oh, really?
Yes. So there are even more ecosystems that we haven't touched upon.
Well, I think we've come to a nice resting spot in the end of the program for the Rock Creek Trail, and this is a good place to kind of wrap it up and just take the program out with a quiet moment of the absolute sheer beauty. And Kathy, thank you so much, and Anne, thank you. And the booklets are available up front at the information trailhead right at the beginning, or at the Tahoe Forest office. And that was a winter wren, right?
yes.
Yes. Doing a sign off, I can tell. That's right. Very loud. So we'll see you another time, and thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again on Nevada County Snapshots.